Hi everyone and welcome to Power and Freedom. I'm Alana Hunt. Thank you so much for joining me. Do come on in. If you see me live in your feed, do come on in and say hi. Drop me a like, drop me a comment, drop me a love to let me know that you're here. Now the topic today is the snowball effect. And it's about small movements that can generate great momentum. So we're going to talk about how you can use the snowball effect to create the life you truly want. It's a great topic today, and what we're going to be talking about will really help you begin to create your life in a way that you can make tiny little changes and that they'll have a massive impact and that your life can change completely. So today, the snowball effect. And this is really about how you can make tiny movements and how those tiny movements can have a massive impact down the track. So that's the topic. So I wanted to give you an example. We all know what a snowball's like, right? It starts off as this tiny thing. And if you're in a country that experiences snow, you've probably created your own little snowball, and you kind of get the snow and you put it in your hands, and it's just a little wee snowball, and you kind of shape it in a way that is easy for you to hold on to. But if you throw that snowball or you start it rolling down a hill, then what happens is it gains momentum and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, doesn't it? And suddenly, before you know it, there's this massive snowball, and you know, things look very, very different from where it started as a very tiny snowball. And this effect can also be seen in a ripple. So if you put your finger into a pond of water, for example, or you see a fish that comes up and it kind of puts its mouth on the surface, and you see the ripples, and the ripples start going out, and those ripples in a ripple effect, they kind of have a momentum of their own, and you'll see that ripple show up somewhere else down the track or wider on the pond. You know, when we start off with a snowball, an actual snowflake, which is, you know, a snowball's made up of a whole bunch of snowflakes, isn't it? It's kind of like lots of things. It's made up of something very, very tiny, something that we can't necessarily see or grab hold of. But when we take a whole bunch of snowflakes, it creates a snowball. And so we can kind of do the same thing in our lives. So today I'm going to talk you through maybe how to bring 5 or 6 snowflakes together. So if we think about a snowflake and we call a snowflake some questions, then what we can do is we can grab those snowflakes and we can put them together to create a snowball that we can then have some momentum, or will gain its own momentum, and really take us a long way from where we are here today in the direction that we actually want to go. So sometimes it's the tiniest little movements that gather the most momentum and actually create the most amazing results down the track. So in the same way that, you know, it takes a few snowflakes, when we set a course of action, we attract events and experiences that match our initial course. And to start with, we need to kind of, you know, keep shaping that snowball, keep doing the same actions, if you like. But in time, results gain their own momentum, creating the snowball effect and taking us in amazing directions. I wanted to give you some questions to have a think about here. And the first thing I wanted to do, so I've got some notes here, I'm just trying to get them in order. I ended up with a whole bunch of pages of notes here today, so the things I wanted to cover. So I wanted to use an example and try and give you an example that a lot of us maybe have some awareness of. So I thought about things like changing your eating habits, you know, so that you might decide that you want to be a bit healthier, or you might decide that you want to be a bit slimmer, or whatever it is. But it's an example that most of us can relate to, and perhaps we've experienced at some point in our lives. So I thought what we would do is talk about what might happen if you decided to cut out sugar, because there's a lot of conversations about sugar at the moment, isn't there, and how bad sugar is for you, and, you know, all of those sorts of things. So I thought, you know what, we can make massive changes. If we cut out some sugar or reduce our sugar, it will have far-reaching impacts that maybe we can't see today. So I thought, let's have a wee chat about what might happen, so we can start to see how this snowball effect can take hold and how it can deliver results in our lives. So changing your eating habits by cutting out sugar, you might start off, you know, you might just say, look, you know what, I want to cut out sugar. I want to feel healthier. I've heard sugar's really bad for me. I eat too much of it. I'd like to reduce or cut out sugar altogether. So when you first make that decision, maybe for the first few days, you really get these cravings. You might get headaches. You might feel like, oh, I just need to have a piece of sugar. I just need to have a bit of chocolate, whatever it is, however it is that you intake your sugar currently. You know, you decide that you're not going to do those things. So you're going to be making some little changes. Maybe it's just one change. Maybe there's one place that sugar shows up in your life. Maybe it's a candy bar, you know, whatever that is. But you're going to make this decision. So to start off with, you might experience cravings, you know, as your body is adjusting to the fact that you're no longer having sugar, because it doesn't really matter whether something's good for us or bad for us. Our body adjusts to it, and it kind of becomes its new normal, even if that's quite an unhealthy normal. Our body, then it starts to expect it. It starts to get into a pattern of expectation of how it needs to work for us, because by having that sugar, although it might put stress on our body, we are telling our body what it is that we want it to do for us. Yeah, that's kind of how it works. So if we decide that we don't want to have sugar anymore, there's still a physical chemistry that's going on in our body that might mean that that shows up in chemistry. There's like an unbalance initially in how our body's used to working. So to start off with, we're going to get all those cravings. And then after a few days, your blood sugar might start to even out, because, you know, there's certain foods that we eat that create spikes, lows, highs in our blood sugar, which can keep us feeling really hungry. It can keep us in cravings, and we can be driven by sort of particularly sugar cravings, and that can show up with lots of carbohydrates, breads, as well as sugars. And so to start off with, we might have this craving, but in time, our blood sugar begins to adapt. And so it starts to settle down. So instead of having the highs and the lows, it's kind of a lot more even. But, you know, even though we're not having those cravings, our eyes and our habits can still tell us that we want sugar. You'll still see the candy bar and it triggers something in your mind. It triggers something in you, not necessarily in your body, but certainly in your mind, that says, oh, I want the candy bar. Or when you feel a certain way, you might reach for the candy bar, and that might be a habit that you do. It might be something that every single day you come home from work and you have your dinner, and after dinner you sit down and you watch your favorite show, for example, and you grab your candy bar, whatever it is for you. And so what we're going to be doing there is that we've got some different things that are going to come up that might sort of stand in our way a little bit, that we have to work our way through. And this is where we have to sort of keep reshaping the snowball, so to speak. We have to keep choosing the same thing, because those cravings in the beginning will drive you to go pick up the sugar, to pick up the candy bar or eat the cake, because it feels good. And your body's used to it. So it'll send you signals to say, okay, time for sugar now, you know. And then once we get past the cravings, we've got the habit to deal with. We've got the automatic behavior, the patterns that we've created in our lives. With, you know, people talk about it a lot with smoking, but whatever it is, that if you decide you want to change something, then whatever that habit is, it's a habit. And so there's behavior that's automatic. And so we have to kind of work through this process. So that could take a week or two before, you know, you don't necessarily feel that you automatically are going to reach for that candy bar. You kind of start to change your behavior, but in the beginning you have to keep choosing it. Every time you feel like you need the candy bar or you want the candy bar, you've got to say, no, I choose not to have sugar. So, right, that's what happens in the beginning, right? And then within a month or so, you know, put some time frames around it. It's a little bit different for everybody. But to begin with, these are some of the things for the first few days, and then for the you know, the first week or two. But around about a month, you probably discover that actually you don't think about sugar anymore. And if you do see sugar, you kind of turn your nose up at it. And what I find really interesting, having gone through this one, I'm using this because it's an example that I've done myself, is that what we do is then you pick up some sugar and you go, oh, that's so sweet. Ugh, you know, and the weird thing is that within a month, of choosing and deliberately choosing the same thing over and over again by picking up those snowflakes and shaping that snowball into the same shape over and over again is that you discover that actually what you thought you needed, or what you thought you really desired, or what was kind of something that you did automatically without thinking about, now you just don't want it. And you actively don't want it. Not just, it doesn't matter, but you actually don't want to make that choice again. And what happens when you stop eating sugar? We'll just talk about some of the results that might show up in your life. You'll have more energy. Your eyes might sparkle. Your stomach slims down because, you know, sugar tends to create a bloated stomach or belly fat, and, you know, whatever you want to call it. But actually, when you stop eating sugar, you start to feel slimmer, especially through your belly. You feel lighter, brighter, and healthier. And so what started off as a simple decision, or potentially a simple decision to say, you know what, I'm not going to eat sugar anymore, actually becomes this amazing result in quite a short period of time. And if you keep doing that, then the results are just going to get bigger and bigger and better and better. And you're going to feel healthier. You're going to feel more alive. You're going to feel more vibrant. And you're going to discover that actually sugar is something that you don't actually want. So I wanted to give you some questions to kind of help you maybe go through this process of how you could begin to change something in your life and use the snowball effect to truly create different results and different experiences in your life. And we've been talking a bit about some various things along the way. So we've been talking about the comparison trap. So what I thought we would do is just go through some questions that might help you. So we were looking at the comparison trap in terms of how we define certain words and how we can compare where we are in our life with our own definitions or our own created definitions of where we think we should be. We also talked about the reflection connection, which is about looking at what's showing up in the results around you and in your life, and following the connections back to see actually how you're creating the results, struggling to speak this today, of your life. So the first question to ask yourself is, what do you want to be different? And it's just about choosing one thing. Because, you know, sometimes we look at our life and we go, this isn't working, I really want this to be different. And we feel like we have to change everything or a whole bunch of things. And when we try and do that, it's really overwhelming. And we can't put our focus into actually continuing to choose the same thing. So first off, we just choose one thing, okay? One thing that you might want to be different. And then you ask yourself, how does the current situation make you feel? Now, we were talking last week about emotions and what emotions do you want to escape or experience. And this is part of this process, right? So when we can use the snowball effect, we want to think about how the current situation, so we've decided we want to change something or we want something to be different. How does that current situation make you feel? And it's really important to hook into those emotions because, as we've said before, a lot of our behavior, or pretty much all our behavior, is driven by a desire to feel a certain way or not to feel a certain way. So how does it make you feel? Be very clear about that. And then the next question is, why do you want it to be different? Because it's really important to have a look at the motivation behind why you want it to be different. And if we looked again at the comparison trap and we think about, well, I want it to be different because this, you know, this is what I want, but this is where I am. And so being really clear about why you want it to be different. Is this something that's true for you? Is it something that comes from somebody else's expectations or societal expectations or some definition that you've created in your own internal process that's saying, well, I need to be this? Because be very clear about why you need to shift it. Because some of the things that we think need to be different actually are okay. It's just the way we're looking at them. So do that exercise. Ask yourself why you want it to be different and be very clear about your motivation. You know, because if your motivation or your reason or your core driver for making wanting something to be different is absolutely in alignment with you, then you're going to have a much better chance of that actually being able to create the different results, to shape your snowball day in and day out, and actually have the results show up down the track. And the next question is, how would you feel if it was different? So this is where you're kind of doing this, what do I want to escape, or what do I want to experience? And you're really looking at whether there's some desperation in there, whether you're really trying to escape some feeling, but it's not actually about the result, it's just about shifting how you feel. So being very clear about that connection there. How would you feel if it was different? So you've decided you want it to be different. You probably have an idea of what you'd like it to look like, although often what happens is the results that show up, you know, we can't anticipate from the beginning. And so, you know, have a look at how you think you would want to feel, or how you would feel if it was different. That's really important, because you want to tie yourself into that feeling. You want to be in a space where you can really use that feeling that you want to experience as part of your motivation. Make sure everything's aligned with you. But if it is, step into that feeling of how would it feel, you know, if it is different. And then the next question, this is part of how we actually use the snowball effect. What are you thinking, feeling, or doing today? And usually it's a daily thing that we're doing that is perpetuating your current situation. So what are you doing, thinking, feeling, or doing, or saying that is continuing or allowing the continuation of the results that you don't want to see to keep happening? Because, you know, we are in the creative process all the time. So it's easy to sort of say it's something that is happening outside of me. But because we are the creators of the results in our lives, in actual fact, what's happening is that the results that are showing up are directly aligned to something that you're doing or not doing in your life today. So the question, powerful question, to create a really good connection between how you're creating the results is, what are you thinking, feeling, or doing daily that is perpetuating the current situation? So that's the first thing. Then what happens is you can identify what's going on, and you can see what might need to be altered or what might need to be shifted. And then the last question is, how do you replace a thought, feeling, or emotion or action to take you where you want to go? So when you've identified what it is that you're doing to create the results you don't want, yeah, because that's really what we're looking at, then you can do a shift. You can do a shift. You can say, okay, so I'm thinking this, or I'm feeling this, or I'm doing this, or I'm saying this. And actually that's reinforcing what I don't want to experience, or what is showing up that I actually want to be different. And by doing that, you can identify the thing that needs to be altered, or that you want to choose to be altered. Mandy's saying here, I find if a negative feeling presents itself, I acknowledge it and say, okay, I don't like this. So I begin by smiling and thinking of something I love. It works every time. That's a great way to shift your energy. It really is a great way to shift your energy. And when you can identify what it is that your part in that creative process of, you know, creating what you don't want, you can begin to take the same responsibility, because, you know, that's what this is about. If we're creating the results that we don't want, then we can also create the results that we do want. But first we have to acknowledge and accept responsibility for what we're doing today that is creating those results. And this is not about beating yourself up. This is not about giving yourself a hard time or saying, oh my goodness, I look at what I'm doing. And, you know, that's not what this is about. This is about saying, here's what I'm doing. Wow, I can see really clearly the correlation between what I'm thinking, saying, feeling, and the results that are showing up. So I don't have to keep doing that. You take responsibility for your part in it. And when you do that, you claim that power that I talk about all the time, that internal personal power to create transformational results, to absolutely transform your experience. So only when you, I have a quote, and it's, I'm trying to remember what it is. I think it's like, only when you take responsibility, do you actually discover how powerful you are? And this is what this is about, right? So you are powerful in creating the results of your life when you take responsibility for how you're creating today, whether the results are what you want to see or whether they're not. We take responsibility for it. We can see that connection between what we're doing, thinking, feeling, saying today and what's showing up. And then we can shift it, yeah? And by shifting it, by taking responsibility, we say, I am empowering myself. I can see exactly what I'm doing. So if I can create these results I don't want, through my daily choices, the daily things I'm doing, the unconscious habitual things that I'm doing that I'm kind of often, we're not even aware of them. We just repeat them, get patterns, but we just have these behaviors that we've kind of got into a groove with, yeah? And so when we begin to see how we're creating powerfully, we can also see how by shifting some things, by shaping our little snowball into the shape that we want to see, by gathering those snowflakes, maybe asking those questions, bringing those snowflakes together, that we can create different results in exactly the same way as we've created the results that we don't want. So it's super, super powerful. So this is what I want to help you do, is create these connections to see really, really clearly how you're creating in your life, and give you tools to help you begin to make different choices. And I've talked a lot about active choices and passive choices, and this is kind of what this is. There's a lot of choices we make that we're really conscious of. Some of them are really big life-changing decisions, and some of them are decisions that we kind of make that seem smaller, on a day-to-day basis. But there's a lot of things that we're not aware we're choosing, right? Where we're in these patterns, where we're in a groove and we're doing the same thing day in and day out. And so those results, that's a snowball. The things you're doing daily are the snowball that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we keep choosing the same things and the results are compounding. So whether it's what you don't want or whether it's what you want, the process is the same. So that's the snowball effect. And it's about taking little decisions about things that you do daily, or you think daily, or you say daily, or you feel daily, because our feelings are so much more powerful than our thoughts and actually creating the reality of our lives. And so if we're conscious of what we're feeling, so you might think something, you might think, oh, you know what, I wish I had more energy. And it could be, going back to our sugar example, it could be, oh, I wish I had more energy. I just feel so tired all the time. And then you kind of go, why do I feel so tired? What do I know? If we think about how our body responds to the fuel that we give it, for example, right? So if you give it sugar, it's going to slow things down. It's going to make you tired. It's hard for your body to process sugar. So it creates lethargy. It creates this sort of feeling of heaviness. Cut the sugar out, your body has one less thing that it has to do. One less bit of hard work that it's doing at the moment. Whatever it is in your life, I'm just using sugar as an example because it's something that's in the press, and we kind of understand that maybe it's not the best choice we can make for ourselves. If you want to eat sugar, eat sugar. It's a personal choice. So that's not what this is about. But it's a way to kind of demonstrate what happens. So you're feeling tired. You don't want to feel so tired. So you begin to make the connection between what you're eating and your energy levels. And in doing so, you go, actually, I've done a bit of research, and sugar is something that really does make people feel tired. And so I'm going to take a little bit of pressure and a little bit of strain off my body, and I'm going to cut out sugar. And I'm going to see what happens. People say, I'll have more energy. Well, let's just see. And so in the beginning, again, like I said at the beginning when I was using this example, to start with, you've got to keep choosing the same thing. You keep reminding yourself that actually you want to have more energy, that you want to take some of the pressure off your body, that you want to be healthier. That's a choice that you're making. And the way that you're going to start to create how you want to feel, which is healthier, lighter, brighter, you know, whatever words you want to put around that, the way you're going to change that is to cut out sugar. And you're going to keep choosing that day after day after day until your body says, okay, I don't need sugar anymore. I'm not going to give you those cravings anymore. And then you go, yeah, but I really feel like I want that, because habitually you've done it. And this is what we do. We put these things into our routine and they become part of our normal. And we actually lose our awareness around the fact that we're actually making a choice here. Every single time I have my dinner and then I sit down at the television and I grab my chocolate bar, or I have my hot chocolate, you know, with 6 sugars, whatever. You don't even need to add sugar to hot chocolate because it's really, really sugary. But whatever it is that, and maybe those things are a bit of a comfort to you, and they become just things that you're not even really aware you're doing. So this is what this is about. It's about raising your awareness of those things that you're thinking, saying, doing, feeling daily that are creating results. And then think about the results you don't want. Track it back. Go, how can I shift something in my daily life that is going to deliver different results? Because it's the little decisions that you make today, tomorrow, the next day, that you keep making, that are going to have that snowball effect and create the momentum that takes you somewhere that, hey, wow, sometimes we actually don't even have any idea where it's going to take us. And the results are so amazing and so incredible that we go, all I did was cut out sugar. And suddenly I feel amazing. I have so much energy. I'm slimmer. I'm brighter. My brain works better. Excuse me. I've made a better choice. I want to eat more healthy food because, you know, my body's kind of going, wow, I feel so much better. Give me more of the good stuff. You know, your brain works better, all of these things. And then maybe you feel like you want to go out for a walk a bit better, a bit more often, because you've got a bit more energy. So this is what I mean. It's like the snowball that you make a choice here and the results that show up can be quite incredible down the track. And remember that it works in reverse. Yeah. So if you're making choices in your daily life that aren't taking you where you want to go, it's going to keep taking you that way unless you actually stop and make a different choice. So the snowball effect is about identifying those little things, those daily choices, moving those, making different choices, taking responsibility for your part in creating the results of your life, whether you like them or not, making a change, choosing one little thing, shaping your snowball, choose the same thing day in and day out, until it becomes a habit, until it becomes something you don't think about, until it becomes as automatic as the thing that you're doing now that's delivering the results that you don't want. Yeah. Don't try and change everything at once. Don't try and, you know, completely transform your life overnight, because it's too hard. It's too far away from where you actually are right now. And when you try and change everything, there's too much of a groove, you know, there's the groove, the rut that we're in, and it just keeps delivering the same thing. So the way that you need to be able to, the way to get the results that you want, change one thing. Have that time of the cravings, work through that, just, you know, keep choosing the same thing, work through the habit that keeps telling you, but I want that chocolate bar, that's what I do. You know, and you automatically go to the kettle and you make the hot chocolate, or you grab the chocolate bar that you bought at the supermarket last week. Don't buy the chocolate bars at the supermarket. Help yourself, support yourself in the decision that you're making or that you want to make. Yeah. And so slowly but surely you find that what was automatic is no longer a part of your life, and you've got a new normal. And that new normal is taking you where you want to be, where you want to go. Only then have another look and say, well, is there something else that I want to change? Because it's those daily things that we do that are actually creating our results in the strongest, most powerful way. You know, it's not always those big choices. They have a result, but we have to keep choosing the same thing over and over again until it becomes a habit, till it becomes part of our automatic programming, if you like. And, you know, we're rewiring our brain, as Mandy says, stop, rewire my patterns to something different. Yeah, until it becomes automatic autopilot. And that's exactly what happens. You know, you're training your brain, because your brain is going to keep delivering you exactly the thing that you ask it for over and over again until you ask it for something different. That's its job. You're programming it. So If you're a person who says, I'm going to have my tea, I'm going to sit down and watch a show on TV, and then I'm going to have my chocolate bar because that's what I do, your brain will remind you to get up and go get the chocolate bar. Your brain is actually your friend. It can sometimes feel like it's your enemy, but it's your friend because it's delivering to you exactly what you've asked it to. And therefore, it is a powerful, powerful tool at your disposal to create something different. Yeah. Slowly but surely, you can reprogram your brain to show you what you really want. Not what it thinks you want or what you wanted yesterday, but what you want today and what you want tomorrow and what you want the next day and for the next month and for however long afterwards until you decide to make a different choice. But to begin with, we have to do a little bit of work. We have to get that snowball. We have to shape it. We have to keep shaping it. We have to start pushing it along. We have to give it some momentum. And then it starts to just become bigger all on its own and deliver results by attracting, like the snowball that goes down the hill. It's gathering more and more and more snow until it becomes this great big ball of snow. And so in the same way, to start with, you're starting to roll the snowball, and maybe that takes a little bit of effort to get it rolling. Yeah, it keeps sticking, it keeps stopping. So you have to keep pushing it and keep moving it. But in time, it starts to gain its own momentum and it gets bigger, and it's attracting all of the things that match what it is you want. So you want to be healthier, you want to feel lighter, you want to feel brighter, you want your brain to work better. Those are the things that are going to start to show up because those match the choice that you make. Those are the results that are going to show up as a result of the choices that you're making. So think about one thing that you could maybe in your life that you think you would like to be different. One result that you'd like to see a shift in, just one thing, and then track back. So I'm just going to go through those questions again just to help you. They're pretty simple, but sometimes it's useful to have them to hand. So first off, identify one thing that you want to be different. Connect the emotion. How does the current situation make you feel? Why do you want it to be different? Have a think about your motivation. Is it about you? Is it about something you're doing for yourself? Or is it about meeting some external expectation? In which case, have a wee think about whether that's actually true for you. And then how would you feel if it was different? What do you actually want to experience? How do you want to feel? How do you think making a different choice daily will improve your life? How will it make you feel? Connect to that feeling. And what are you thinking, feeling, or doing daily that is perpetuating the current situation? So identify and take responsibility for what you're doing or saying or thinking or feeling that is creating the results you don't want. And how could you replace those things with a different choice or a different behavior, or a different thought, or a different feeling, or a different doing, a different action that will take you where you want to go? And start bringing that in. What we can't do is just stop a behavior. So what happens, sometimes we think, well, I'll just stop doing that. You have to replace it with something. You cannot live in a vacuum. Your brain cannot live in a vacuum. If you just stop something, there's like space, and your brain will just keep going back in the same groove. Yeah, that's kind of how it works. There's an ingrained pattern, an ingrained groove that your brain is following and your behavior is following. So you need to replace it with something. If you stop doing one thing, choose something else. So where maybe you had the chocolate bar, have a glass of water or have a piece of fruit. Do something different to replace it. And that will help with the habit as well, because otherwise you're just like, oh, now I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to look at the TV and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm bored. And you start getting up and you start feeling restless because there's a habit that has formed in there, a way of behaving. And so to shift that as well, replace it with something. Replace it with something that's going to take you where you want to go. Replace the chocolate bar with an apple, or a glass of water, or something that's a healthier choice. And that will help you through that initial stage. And then that will have its own results, because what if you have a piece of fruit, that's giving fuel to your body that your body needs. You're taking away something that is harmful, that is making your body work really hard, but you're replacing it with some fuel, some building blocks that your body actually needs to help support you and make you healthier. Mandy's just saying to me, am I able to itemize these in print? I want to have the outline in front of me every day. You know what? I probably could do that. Let me have a think about what I could do. I'll drop it back into the comment and I'll tag you in it, Mandy. But otherwise, you know, go back and listen to it and write them down. But let me see if I can do that for you. Because I do think actually what I'm trying to do is give you very real tools, and it is useful sometimes to have these things. Perhaps I'll write a blog about that and put the questions in the blog anyway and share that on the page. But, you know, I think that's a good idea. It's really important if we resonate with something to grab the content, take what's important to us, take what resonates with us that feels aligned to who we are and go, yeah, I'm going to do that. I want to take that into my life. So thank you so much for that and for your interest and your connection to this topic. I really appreciate you being here. Maria's saying, solid advice. I also advise people if they're trying to stop habits like smoking or biting their nails to do something different every day to break that connective pattern that's in your brain. Just what you're saying, spot on. Yeah, thanks, Maria. Maria's has a background as a hypnotherapist, and she really helps people in lots of ways in their lives. So lovely to have your feedback, Maria, and your agreement with that. I just think sometimes, when we create this vacuum, we think, well, I'm just going to stop, and it just doesn't work, and we wonder why it's not working. But when you make a replacement, when you replace one thing with another, that is a much more healthy choice, or a choice that's going to take you where you want to go. That's the snowball effect. Yeah, you choose the apple instead of the chocolate bar, and doing that not only means that you're cutting out the sugar and you're getting the results from that, but that you're also replacing it with something good. And the apple itself will also have compounding results and create its own momentum in helping support your body to be healthier. Mandy, you're a visual person. Me too. I think in pictures, so I also talk in pictures. And I think, I know there's people that don't think in pictures, but for me, I think it's really important to use analogies and to use examples that, if we think about the brain, the way the brain makes connections as well, if I give you something visual that you already understand and you already know, it creates a hook in your brain. So the next time you think about it, you go, oh yeah, the snowball, and it helps you just create that connection. So to remind you to do the things that you actually want to do to take your life where you want it to go. So that is the snowball effect in a nutshell. And I hope that's been really helpful. And if there's something that you want to have show up differently in your life, have a look at those questions. Let me see what I can do to help you with that, Mandy. And, ask yourself, the most important question out of all of that is, what am I doing now daily to create the results I don't want? Because only when you take responsibility for that and you become aware of how you're creating, can you shift it. It's too easy to just, think that it's just showing up, like it's just like by magic. Oh, I always go for a chocolate bar. Don't know why. How does it make you feel? Why are you choosing it? And why do you want it to be different? And really connect to those things and connect to the emotions that you believe that you will feel on the other side when you have made a shift, when different things are showing up. And use all of those tools in your toolbox to move you where you want to go, so that your life begins slowly but surely to look more and more how you want it to be, that you can start with a snowflake or a few little snowflakes, create your own little snowball, and then start rolling it down the hill, so that it gains its momentum and it gets bigger and it attracts all the wonderful results that you actually want to see in your life. So thank you so much for joining me. In the meantime, if there's anything that I can help you with, do send me a message on my page and I will get straight back to you. Thank you so much for being here, and I will speak to you again very, very soon.